You've got a massive tech failure, a secret billion-dollar deal between sworn enemies, and a breakthrough that just might have changed the AI game forever. Okay, we have to get into this because the story of how Apple tried to fix Siri is actually way, way bigger than just your iPhone. And it all kicks off with this number, $1 billion a year. I mean, that is just an insane amount of money for one company to be paying another. So that brings us to the big mystery we're unpacking today. Why on earth would Apple, a company that is obsessed with doing everything itself, in-house, suddenly start cutting checks this huge to its biggest rival, Google? Well, the answer, it's a little messy. All right, let's pull back the curtain on what's really going on with this deal. Because this isn't just some small partnership. This signals a massive shift, not just for Apple, but for pretty much everyone.
So here's the bottom line. Apple, with all its money and all its engineers, just couldn't build an AI that was good enough for what they wanted to do. So they're renting one. Yep, they're licensing Google's super powerful Gemini model to be the brains behind their shiny new Apple Intelligence system.
But when you dig into the details, it gets really interesting. This isn't just a simple copy-paste job. Google's providing a custom-built 1.2 trillion parameter model to handle the heavy lifting, summarizing stuff, planning tasks, but it's not doing Siri's voice. And for all of you who care about privacy, and you should, Apple's running all of this on its own secure servers. Google never sees your data. It's basically a billion-dollar Band-Aid while Apple scrambles to get its own AI ready, which might not even happen until 2026.
Which, of course, brings us to the real heart of the issue. Why was Apple so desperate that they had to go running to their rival in the first place? I mean, let's be real. We all kind of know the answer, don't we?
Yeah, this quote from our source material really just says it all, doesn't it? For a company that built its entire brand on things that just work, Siri has been this glaring, obvious failure for years. It just wasn't getting any smarter, and whatever they were trying to do internally just wasn't working. And this really lays out the two different worlds Apple was living in. On one hand, you have the big goal, build this amazing, powerful, in-house AI. But then you have the reality. They're renting Google's tech just to put a patch on a broken product. They were bleeding key AI talent, and they even got sued for talking up Apple Intelligence before it was really baked. They needed a fix, and they needed it yesterday. But here's the twist. Apple's struggle? It wasn't just an Apple problem. It was really a symptom of this much bigger issue that was holding back the entire AI industry. Let's call it the trillion parameter problem. It's this huge wall that has kept the most powerful AI locked in the hands of just a few giant companies. So what the heck are parameters anyway? Well, the easiest way to think about them is like knobs and dials. An AI uses them to learn and get smarter. A model with a few million parameters, that's kind of like a simple radio. But a model with over a trillion parameters, like the one Apple is now using, that's like the control panel of the Starship Enterprise. It's unbelievably powerful, but it also takes an incredible amount of resources to even turn it on. And that was the wall everyone was hitting. For the longest time, if you wanted to run a model that big, you needed your own custom-built supercomputers. The kind of stuff only Google or NVIDIA have in their basements. Trying to do that on standard cloud services like Amazon's AWS, it was pretty much a non-starter. The off-the-shelf hardware just couldn't move the data around fast enough. It was impossible. Until now. So, just when it looked like this was a game only a few giants could play, a company called Perplexity AI quietly published some research that basically changes everything. And the best way to understand what they pulled off is this fantastic analogy. They figured out how to run a Formula One race car, not on a special multi-billion-dollar track, but on regular city streets. They took something that required a crazy specialized hardware and made it work on the kind of infrastructure that pretty much anyone can rent by the hour. So how'd they do it? It's really a three-part trick. First, they used the main computer processor, the CPU, to basically act as a traffic cop for all the super powerful graphics processors, the GPUs. That solves a huge bottleneck. Second, they figured out a smarter, much faster way to pack and ship data around. And third, they got the whole system to juggle everything at once, so it's always crunching numbers and never just sitting around waiting. It's a totally brilliant software fix for a massive hardware problem. So, what does this all mean when you put it together? You have Apple's very public, very embarrassing problem, and Perplexity's very quiet, very clever solution. And where they meet, you have this huge turning point for the future of AI. Look, if you only take one thing away from all this, it should be this: the super exclusive club of companies that could build these top-tier trillion parameter AI models. That club has just been blown wide open. The barrier to entry has been absolutely shattered. What used to take a private supercomputer can now be done by almost anyone with a decent budget and an AWS account.
And you can already see the floodgates opening. Innovation is just exploding everywhere. People are figuring out new tricks, like telling an AI to ultra-think like Steve Jobs to get way better answers. Core products we use every day, like Google Maps, are getting huge AI upgrades. AIs are tackling ridiculously complex financial questions. It's all happening so fast that it's even starting massive debates about who's going to pay for it all.
And that leaves us with this one final fascinating thought. For years, we all just kind of assumed the next big breakthrough in AI would come from a Google or an OpenAI. But now, if anyone with a bit of cash can build an AI on that same level, who builds the future? Is it some startup in a garage, a university lab? The game has just completely and fundamentally changed.